What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Alien Algo channel. It has been a while. My Discord finally went public, so I have been putting all my attention to the private Discord, and I have barely been engaging on socials. So, if you guys are interested in seeing more of my moves, I've done it enough for free now. If you don't feel so, just look back in history and you will have a lot of learning material from my daily market outlooks. So the main thing, right, is Bitcoin completely fucked, or are we just temporarily fucked? Because we're clearly in a downtrend. And yes, my tonation may have changed. I have changed the voice changer a little bit. So it may sound a little different than normal. But the main thesis, as of now, this was the prior all-time high, right? What did we see here? Top one, top two, downwards move, compression into breakdown. So I can repeat the same right here. Downwards move, compression into down, right? So this is the level to watch. This to hold. This entire area. So this goes all the way down to 70k. Now, what would be an absolute opportunity and the most logical thing? Everyone, including their mothers, is seeing this area. Why? It's very clear. It's the most logical thing to look at. The previous all-time high stacked with these prior highs. So in my eyes, we currently have two different scenarios to go off. Where scenario one would be we reclaim this point and we start sending it back up, perhaps into that 84, 82k area, and we look further from there. The second scenario, we don't reclaim this and we just go for the straight bleed. And perhaps we even do something like this, which would be very mean by the markets, but the markets like to be mean. So expect mean things from the markets. If they feel too easy, you most likely will be fucked a little bit later. So something like this would be very logical. Why? People will be putting bids, meaning they will be putting limits in this area. They will have stops below this. This will create a little cascade, and then we can buy the cascade, right? So at this exact price point, I'm not doing anything in terms of macro positioning. I am waiting for either lower, and then we buy the full panic, or it reclaims this and we invalidate this case and we say full Bulla mode, let's send it to 84k again. So that will be the main thesis here for Bitcoin. I wanted to keep this quite short. My last video, when was this? It was here at this price point around 115k, where I was talking about the macro range, right? This was your range. We broke from the range, made the high into support. I stated the more times you come back to a range after breaking, the worse it gets. The more likely it becomes you will actually find acceptance back within the range. This is exactly what happened. And after, we just flooded straight down. Don't believe it? Just look at the previous video from a couple months ago, where I was telling you guys about this 108k point to watch. And for the upside, I was telling you guys about if we form a range, right, you get a 0.5 level. If we want to be bullish inside this range, in this case, we already went lower. You see how you get back to that 0.5. We don't get back above. That's a sign of weakness from buyers. If buyers wanted to push it higher, they needed to reclaim this. So this was your signal one of weakness from the buy side. Here we see them attempting to buy it, right? They try to push it. Each time they're successful until they're not. Here we have the clear confirmation of the break. This even was picture perfect. Why? Look at the point where we broke down. So we have these little supports here. I need to zoom in a little bit further for this. We have these as support. Again, this is your candle where you break. You get a perfect retest. The same thesis, if you're unable to push past a level, that's a sign of weakness from the opposite side. So the fact buyers were not able to push it past this, it means there's a lack of buyers. And there's most likely are more sellers. And this again clearly showed. So the main thing to take away is either expect this to flush lower and then buy this higher low formation, or we wait for the reclaim and we buy that proper reclaim. So the last thing I want to touch on is the Discord. I have built a little thing for the group and I wanted to show it to you guys. This is mainly for the lower time frames, but I've made it in such a way that it works on all of them. So the only thing that doesn't work properly on the higher time frames are the volume bubbles, right? The volume bubbles right here. If we go to the 30-minute, you will see a lot more definition within them and you will see how they work. So this is one of my private systems. You guys may have seen these waves or this oscillator on my Twitter, or perhaps even on the Vector Prime Discord or my own Discord. But these will be added within 84 hours to the Discord. So if you're not already inside of there, and even if you don't want the indicator and you just want to know the moves I'm making, what I'm looking at, and the educational part to my group, which is my main focus. I hate giving trades. I'd rather learn someone to do it themselves than copy. I want you guys to do this for yourself in the end. I'll just help you get there. I'm not the one to give copy paste. Why? This goes against learning. If I were to give you copy paste trades, why the fuck would you learn? You're just going to sit there waiting for the signals, right? No, you need to learn for yourself so you don't need someone at the end of the day. This is why these copy paste groups love it. They love dumb people. Why? The more you copy and paste, the less you learn. And you will need them because you can't do it on your own. So I want to be the opposite. You come here 2-3 months and you fuck off and you don't need me anymore. So this thing will be included in the group. So anyone joining the group will get access to this script. So there will be a full deep dive about this indicator inside the group, hidden in the educational content per usual. So stay tuned for that. And if you're interested, just shoot me a DM on Twitter or X, however you like to call it. So for the last thing to end it with, let's just analyze ETH, shall we? So let's fully start at scratch. The same logical things to look for. So what did we have prior that I was very interested in? This range, where this was your base. Again, look to the left. Here, this point, further support, the compression that gave you the impulse, support, the impulse, break below, reclaim, send the fuck up. We are back here. I really don't see the reason for people to be bearish here, to be fair. If you're a spot player, this is as good as an opportunity you will get to buy. Why? For any buy, you need a price or a moment or an action to be wrong or right, meaning an invalidation. So let's say price is doing something like this, and I become a buyer here. My invalidation will have to be at the previous low. Does that make sense? If not, make sure to study this logic. So invalidation, this gives your risk to reward. What's your downside versus what's your upside? So here, where is your downside, boys? Your invalidation is very tight. Why? We can literally place a trade now like this, where we target these prior lows and we literally put the stop at the freshly made low. We can even put it closer. This literally now becomes a trade. So I really don't see why people can be bearish when ETH literally went back to one of the most important price points in its entire history, and the whole timeline is bearish again. So the only thing we should be careful for is that they do a little sweep. Right, we are at this place, so we have taken liquidity here. We have not seen a drive through. So a little thing we could see is a little dip into 2K, reclaim this shit, and then send that. Right? So for ETH, the same thing. With this, I'm just showing the logic of invalidation. This is not a live trade. Look, it already would have been taken out. But this is the main area to watch. So the same with Bitcoin. We are expecting either to buy it on a flush lower, or we want to see the proper reclaim and then we buy. So the same thesis for both of these pairs. If we just look at the scoring system, we see one of the lowest scores in a very long while. So this is also very interesting to me. So if you want the deeper explanation about this system and the access to it, make sure to shoot me a DM on Twitter and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So with that being said, guys, Alien out.